Okay, this little box right in front of me is translating live what I'm telling you here and in 3 different modes, and it doesn't do that too badly. But unfortunately, it doesn't recognize its own name and is a bit limited with Germanized words. But the great thing about it is that it is a headphone case that can not only translate, but also a lot more. More on that right after the intro.
These right here are the IKKo ActiveBuds, coming in at a price point of 319 euros. They are the world's first pair of earbuds with a small 1.8-inch touch-based Amoled display on its front that is powered by AI tech in the background. These have the abilities to do real-time translations in multiple languages, as you've just seen. It has ChatGPT on board that lets you talk to it for research, problem solving and everything else you expect from ChatGPT. And it can also play your music from your favorite streaming services either via Wi-Fi or, if you are on the go, via a separate SIM card that can be inserted. Oh, and it also has some integrated earbuds in its case that, to my surprise, sound really good. I have clustered this review into 3 different sections to make it a bit easier to grasp everything that the ActiveBuds have to offer. First, it's the earbuds themselves with build quality, sound and ANC functionality. Second, we are going to talk in depth about the case, the specs, the handling, the battery life and the apps and future-proofing of it. And then we will go into point number 3, which is the built-in AI system, the real-time translation, as well as the ChatGPT functionalities. So let's start with the earbuds themselves. IKKo, the company producing the ActiveBuds, isn't a big player in the TWS world, but for music enthusiasts around the world is a known brand that develops many different IEMs and speakers in a lot of different price ranges. The ActiveBuds themselves feature a 10mm silicon crystal ceramic driver, which I haven't seen in any other bud I tested yet. And it shows. These are able to produce a rich sound profile ranging from deep bass to powerful mids and clear and great sounding highs. Yeah, of course this cannot compete with the best in the field and in direct comparison with the Jabra Elite 10. They sound a bit more muffled, while the Jabras can create a bigger soundscape overall. But especially electronic music and metal sounded great on them. Oh, and these earbuds can get very loud, and I really mean loud. So much so that I can't listen to them when they are at half volume, since this really hurts my ears. I mostly listen at 25% and it's great. The buds do not feature a wear detection sensor, so they are not pausing your music when you take them out of your ears. They are IPX4 water resistant, meaning sweat resistant, but nothing more. The housing of the earbuds are totally made of plastic. Comfort levels are also fine for wearing them of a couple of hours. They sport 6 hours of battery life with ANC turned on and up to 30 hours of battery life in the case, which heavily depends on case usage. The ANC in these buds is also pretty impressive. IKKo is claiming up to 45 decibels of noise reduction in certain environments. To me it was pretty okay ANC for a first-timer product. It cut out most of the traffic sounds you expect and also a few of the noises in the middle. The transparency on it was also fine. Your own voice sounded a bit muffled, but speaking to another person was completely okay. The case is number 2 on my list, and this one is smaller than expected. It features a 1.8-inch AMOLED touchscreen that is quite responsive and can get up to 500 nits bright. On board we have an unspecified quad-core chipset with 1.4 GHz, GPS as well as the Chinese BDS equivalent. And there's also a 6-axis sensor chip built into this tiny case. It can be powered by either USB-C or wirelessly, has a single microphone at the side as well as a SIM card slot for usage away from your smartphone. Now the touchscreen itself can either be used directly with your fingers or via a separate touchscreen directly at its side, which lets you navigate through swiping up and down. And this might show you one of its weaknesses directly. The system itself is set up on a modified Android OS, which they call earsync system, and this isn't fully developed yet. The system itself is a bit complicated to navigate through, and it does not work super smooth with all of its apps that can be installed onto it. And as you might have guessed, a super tiny screen is rather clunky to use. Starting this up, touching the screen, actually nothing happens. You need to press the singular power button on the side for the screen to activate, or push the screen upwards. Now swiping from the left, nothing happens. Swiping from the top or bottom also does nothing. The only thing that can be changed on the front screen is actually the ANC modes for the earbuds. Hey, this is Editor Leech. While filming the B-roll sequences for this video you are watching, IKKo has sent in an update that fixes most of the complaints that I had with the UI structure, such as the hold to activate apps function, and they also added a quick menu that lets you now change the volume faster and directly from the home screen. I guess this actually spares you 3 minutes of me ranting about the UI and its flaws. Good for you. Now, back to the video. In the apps menu you can see most of your favorite music streaming services such as Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal and IKKo's own music. Then we also have Zoom, but only for calls, since there is no camera. We have a phone app for calling and one for messages, as well as 2 AI apps that we talk about a bit later. And lastly, the IKKo App Store, which could potentially get some more apps in the future, but right now has almost nothing available. I'm using Apple Music as my primary source, and Apple Music isn't built for such a tiny screen size, so it gets really complicated and flimsy to actually get anything to play. And especially getting your password typed in was a chore, since this naturally uses the Apple overlay built into the app itself, and I don't think I've ever seen such a tiny keyboard before. Let's actually get to the last point on my list, number 3, the AI integration into the case. This consists of ChatGPT split into 2 different apps. First, it's called ChatPaul, which lets you speak to ChatGPT by voice and ask questions which hopefully get answered correctly. You can either just read the text on the screen or hear the answer through the microphone. This takes a couple of seconds to be processed, which is fine in my opinion. The Paul version understands up to 45 different languages and in my opinion is fine when it comes to answering questions, as long as it understood what I was saying correctly. The much more interesting feature is the Speak Easy app, which gives you 3 different options to choose from. First, it's Quick Mode, which lets you translate everything from one language to another. Here in my example, I used German and translated it into English. Next up is Duo Mode, which has 2 functions. One, you are using the earbuds and talking to them, and the case itself shows the translated version and lets the other person tap onto it and then speak in the natural language, showing the translation as well. Or you can use 1 earbud each. Tap on the side on the small button and ask away, displays the translated audio, and then the other person can tap on their earbud and give their answer. And then finally we have Live Mode, which you have seen at the beginning, which directly translates whatever the earbuds hear. So either you are talking to someone or you just want something translated, this is the right mode for you. All in all, the translation functions are working absolutely fine in my opinion, and are one of the highlights on the IKKo ActiveBuds. So let's get to the conclusion. The IKKo ActiveBuds bring some interesting features and thoughts into the earbud market. They give you the option to actually use the device away from your smartphone and still have most of the necessary functionalities directly at your side. The earbuds themselves are good and can bring enough punch and volume to the table to make them stand out above the average. The ANC is also very good and does a reliable job. Now, if the UI and the App Store get more support, then this can become a better and, in my opinion, desirable product in the future, since the ideas itself are good and viable. The only problem I see right now is that with the next couple of updates on smartphones, all of the real-time AI functions will be implemented into them natively, making this a hard case for anyone to buy as their primary standalone product. Right now, it feels like a small iPod Touch with some neat AI functions implemented, but as we all know, the iPod Touch was quickly relegated to the annals of history and is now no more than a small step on the long road to smartphones. As always, my name is Leechtm and I'm off writing the next scripts. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. There are plenty more of this type of content and many other things available for you to watch. Have a great day, see you around and goodbye.